Now
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:06. It's O'Connor and Company, Tuesday morning, 15th day of August. Thanks for joining us on what will, I guarantee, be an incredibly busy morning here as we've got tons to talk about. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. And Julie, I just want to begin. Well, first, let me let you know who's going to be joining us. 7:05, Curtis Houck of Newsbusters, talk about a problem he's having that a lot of people are having, getting passports in a timely manner. 7:15, Kash Patel on the latest round of indictments. 7:35, Dr. Kevin Roberts, Heritage Foundation. 8:05, Jerry Dunleavy, James Hassan have a brand new book about Kabul, the unbelievable Biden pullout of Afghanistan. 8:15, Liz Harrington, spokesperson for President Trump. And then at 8:35, we've got people from the Native American Guardian Association suing the commanders, wanting them to bring back the name Redskins. Boy, do I love that story. Julie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yesterday, as we were all in on the news of the special counsel being appointed as a cynical and transparent move to try to cover up the Biden crimes, and we were pointing out, Joe DeGeneres said, it's time, impeach now. Now's the time. Move on impeachment. Move now. This is a conspiracy. This is how I signed off yesterday's program. It was 8:59. It was the end of our show, where we always, toss it over to the Chris Plant show.
Yeah.
And this is what I said. Well, that's a wrap. Julie Gunlock, we'll see you back here tomorrow, where no doubt we will be providing full coverage on the brand new indictments of Donald Trump. Right? I mean, that's the only thing. That's the playbook. Bad news cycle for Biden over the last couple of days. Here comes Jack Smith, or maybe Georgia. The Chris Plant show is next. That's how.
Wow.
And we joke. You joke about this, but this has been the pattern. Bad news for Biden. Next day, Trump indictment. Bad news for Biden. Right. Next day, Trump indictment. And boy, oh boy, look at what happened yesterday. In fact, they were so disorganized in trying to rush these things out that they actually posted the indictments on the website before the grand jury had actually voted on the indictments.
Yeah.
Then they pulled it off and they said that was fake.
Oops.
That was fictitious. They said it was fictitious and yet never really, had the police investigate. Somebody has hacked the Fulton County DA's website. That's a crime.
The Dobbs leaker now lives in Georgia.
That's exactly. It's the same people who tweeted out those pictures of Anthony Weiner's crotch.
That's right.
They hacked them, and they've got where is the police investigation as to who would post fake, fictitious charges? And then that same office that just, posted these charges before the grand jury voted on it, then lied and said it was fictitious, later in the day after the vote, posted basically the exact same charges against Trump and multiple co-conspirators, because they take election denial in Georgia very seriously. And so we want to take this seriously, too. Election denial is a very big problem. Clearly, it is a crime. Now, sometimes it takes him many years to kind of investigate it and get to the bottom of it, clearly. But we have put together a whole list of evidence of the co-conspirators of this crime.
Great.
We know who the chief election denier is in Georgia, but the co-conspirators are key. And we've put together a little bit of a montage here for you can hear them. You'll recognize their voices. You'll hear the co-conspirators in the act of Georgia election denial. Here, listen.
Without voter suppression, Stacey Abrams would be the governor of Georgia.
If this country wasn't racist, Stacey Abrams would be governor.
I don't need to tell Georgia about this. Stacey Abrams ought to be the governor of Georgia. When racially motivated voter suppression is permitted, when districts are drawn so that politicians get to choose their vote, we cannot truly say that we live in a democracy.
I mean, it's obvious what's going on here. This is election denial. Stacey Abrams continues to deny the results of the election, lie to the people of Georgia and the American people. And, speaking of co-conspirators, I know we've been all waiting to land this big fish, and we got her.
I know Stacey well. She was one of my really strong surrogates in the campaign. If she'd had a fair election, she already would have won. And
there you go. We got we've got him. We got him, Julie.
Got him. There you go.
Don't you be denying an election in Georgia. Don't you be wasting taxpayers' money on election denial in Georgia. Don't be calling on the people of Georgia to actually, do their best efforts to overturn the results. That's not going to happen.
As Chris Plant always says, it's good to be a Democrat, right? There we go.
Really is. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm told it's Donald Trump.
It is.
I apologize. Forgive me. Our newsroom is correcting me now, apparently. Apparently the charges are against Donald Trump. The investigation into Stacey Abrams is still pending. So we will.
Thank you. Good to know.
We'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure something is bound to break on it. Well, Margot Cleveland over at The Federalist has done yeoman's work breaking down these charges and showing you exactly how dangerous this is. And it truly is dangerous. And we're going to get into that in a minute because some of the things that are cited here as conspiratorial actions, you would probably describe as a person having an opinion and expressing that opinion.
Yes.
But you can't. So really, Donald Trump is guilty of wrongthink here when you drill down.
Yeah.
But I also want to take a moment to remind you of the forewoman because we've all forgotten about the grand jury forewoman down there in Georgia. The young woman who was in charge of the grand jury who volunteered their time to painstakingly go over all the evidence that the DA in Fulton County handed them so that they could determine finally now 3 years later. Again, and I ask, I know that the wheels of justice grind slowly and deliberately, but what have we learned now that we didn't know, literally 2.5 years ago?
Right.
Why now are these indictments coming? Why now are these charges coming down? I don't know.
It's weird.
Oh, and the DA has asked for a trial in the next 6 months. That I don't know what's going on in the next 6 months.
So,
really hard to. There's something else going. Trump got anything else going on in his life? But no, the grand jury. Remember, we met this forewoman of the grand jury. What is this dated? Back in April, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And when she came public, and now finally we have the charges the day after horrible news cycle for Hunter and Joe Biden. And I want to remind everybody of who the grand jury, the forewoman of the grand jury is, and how seriously she took her job.
Yeah.
The very sobering job of evaluating whether, in an unprecedented way, a former president of the United States would be indicted on charges that really do stem from having a different opinion about how an election went. Here, listen to the grand jury forewoman, just so you remember who she is.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
I often say that parents should encourage their children to explore the performing arts and writing and creative outlets. But I do want to warn you, it's possible your daughter will end up a dinner theater, musical theater performer like this. You are always running that risk. But hey, she'll make history at some point. So this is how seriously this grand jury took this. And frankly, that's how seriously we're going to take it. However, it is serious, and it is actually something that you should be very concerned about. In a moment, we'll break this down, or we'll tell you how Margot Cleveland broke it down in terms of certain acts of conspiracy that have been laden into this indictment to sort of pad it up. They really wanted to get the number of charges up as high as possible. We're going to break those down and how dangerous this actually is and how unjust it is. We're going to do that in just a moment. Also, as I mentioned, we've got Kash Patel joining us later. We've got Liz Harrington joining us later. There's plenty of coverage on this, so go nowhere. First, it's 5:15.
Cool content from your favorite WMAL shows. Download the new WMAL app today.
Without voter suppression, Stacey Abrams would be the governor of Georgia.
We found the election denial in Georgia, ladies and gentlemen. We found it.
Yes.
Thank goodness. Funny what we decide to focus on. All right. Again, Margot Cleveland, who has worked in the federal court system for almost 2 decades now. She's broken down much of the conspiratorial acts that are laid out here. And I hope you're paying attention to exactly what is going on. Because here's the thing. Most of the media won't be actually going line by line through this thing the way right of center writers like Margot at the Federalist and my colleagues at Town Hall will do. Here's one of the conspiratorial acts. On or about the 3rd day of December 2020. So this is December 3rd, less than a month after the election. As, by the way, let me just point out, they were still counting ballots 4 weeks after the election day. On or about the 3rd day of December 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Real Donald Trump. Do you like that? Do you like that verbiage? Caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account. And I'm quoting now what he tweeted. So what I'm about to read is evidence of a conspiracy. What I'm about to read is evidence of a conspiracy according to a grand jury.
Ignore all those things you heard about Stacey Abrams. Just listen. Yeah.
This is the crime. This is the criminal act according to the Fulton County District Attorney, and this is why you need to take this seriously. Quoting now the tweet. Georgia hearings now on OANN. Amazing. Unquote.
Oh, my God. And then it says, keep going.
Says this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Illegal to watch TV.
Illegal to tell other people your opinion of what you're saying. This was a public hearing in the state of Georgia that was televised. Donald Trump was watching it, and he said it was amazing.
This is
and according to the district attorney of Fulton County, this is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay. Here's another one. Fulton County election workers at State Farm Arena ordered poll. This is an example of one of the claims being made by Trump and his co-conspirators that is tantamount to an illegal act. All right? Listen carefully. That Fulton County election workers at State Farm Arena ordered poll watchers and members of the media to leave the tabulation area on the night of November 3rd, 2020, but then continued to operate after ordering everyone to leave. Let me just tell you something. That is a 100% factual statement. If it is against the law to inform you that Fulton County election workers at State Farm Arena ordered poll watchers and members of the media to leave the tabulation area on the night of November 3rd and then continued to operate after ordering everyone to leave, that's illegal. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Sorry, they might have to take me away in handcuffs because that is 100% factually accurate. That is what happened. In fact, I didn't know anyone was still trying to deny that, considering we have the security camera footage of exactly that happening and multiple eyewitness accounts.
Yeah.
But this is what they're criminalizing wrongthink. They're criminalizing having how dare you think that the Georgia election process in 2020 was 100%, was anything but 100% perfect.
Wow.
Here's another one. On or about the 7th day of December, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, I didn't know his middle name was Louis.
Learn something new every day.
Caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Rudy Giuliani, a retweet of unindicted co-conspirator individual 8.
Retweet?
He retweeted, whose identity is known to the grand jury, that stated, and I'm quoting now, Georgia Patriot call to action. Today is the day we need you to call your state, Senate, and House representatives and ask them to sign the petition for a special session. We must have free and fair elections in Georgia, and this is our only way to ensuring every legal vote is counted. Real Donald Trump. So Rudy Giuliani is being indicted as a co-conspirator because he retweeted
Oh, my God.
a call to action for people in Georgia to call their Senate and House representative to ask them to sign a petition for a special session. So in other words, by asking the voters of Georgia to engage in the process and petition their duly elected representative to actually have a session to actually go through this process of what's going on, that is an illegal act according to the district attorney of Fulton County, Georgia. Do you see what's going on here? Do you see what they're calling criminal behavior? Are you terrified yet? I mean, listen.
Yes.
Obviously, this is all about trying to stop Donald Trump. And I know there are a lot of people out there who hate the way Donald Trump acted after the election and hated all the things and wish he hadn't done that. I get it. I'm not. This is but is it
Separate
enough
issue.
but is it a criminal act?
Yeah.
Is it a criminal act to ask the people of Georgia to petition their representative?
The way the framers figured it, sort of arrange things is that if you don't like it, you don't vote for him.
Thank you.
If you don't like how he acted, you don't vote for him. You vote for another guy. But the way this is proceeding is criminalizing pretty normal behavior.
Yes. Pretty normal behavior, by the way, that we see on all sides of the political equation.
Yes.
But it's only criminal on one side.
And it's designed to limit your choices.
And again, how many of these things that we know, because we saw it happen in December of 2020. The dates are right here. He tweeted this December of 2020. But let's wait until August of 2023, 10 days before the first Republican debate, to then decide, you know what, we're going to arrest you for this. We're going to arraign you, and we're going to do a mug shot. Yeah. That's where we are today. And yeah, we're laughing about it, but I hope you can tell we're also pretty angry. You should be too. It's 5:23. All right, as I mentioned, we've got more coverage of the bogus indictments against Donald Trump out of Georgia coming up later in the program. Coming up next, though, that rain yesterday, even if only for about half an hour, was absolutely biblical, and we'll give you all the details next. It's 5:36 on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here Tuesday morning in your nation's capital. Coming up, full coverage of the Trump indictments as well as the slow but steady march toward impeachment for President Biden. At 7:05, Curtis Houck of Newsbusters talk about the media coverage of this, but also a personal situation he's got going on. A lot of people are having this problem, getting passports in a timely manner. Also at 7:15, Kash Patel, former prosecutor, the DOJ. 7:35, Dr. Kevin Roberts Heritage Foundation. 8:05, Jerry Dunleavy and James Hassan. They have a brand new book about Biden's fiasco in Afghanistan. And at 8:15, Liz Harrington, spokesperson for President Trump. And finally, at 8:35, we got a couple members of the Native American Guardian Association threatening to sue the commanders if they don't change the name back to Redskins. Let me just be clear there. Native Americans threatening to sue the Washington football team if they don't call themselves the Redskins.
What a lineup, Larry. My goodness.
There's a lot to get to. And and then, of course, Julie Gunlock and I. Oh, by the way.
Oh, by the way.
All right, so yesterday the rain came. We knew, I gave the weather forecast all day. It was about a 40 or 50% chance of rain. Could be heavy at times, I said. Boy, did I understate that. Because it really, I mean, where I live, it felt like it lasted a good 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't longer than that. In fact, it was one of those storms where the skies get all dark, the rain comes, but just buckets, and then 45 minutes later, blue skies again. It's always weird.
This reminded me a lot of sort of how I grew up in the Midwest in Tornado Alley, where we all spent a little time in our basement. We were told there was a tornado warning in our in Alexandria, and I saw the trees, and I saw how dark it was, and I knew it was time to get downstairs. So scary.
That's exactly what it felt like. Yeah, I went out to cover up my grill and sort of batten down the cushions on the back deck, and it was that feel in the sky. Yeah. Thankfully, we didn't have any cyclone action, but we did have just buckets of torrential downfall. Yeah. And it really accumulated. I'm sure you've seen the images by now in the 600 block Northeast Rhode Island. Now, this is a troubled area, according to a lot of reporting that I was reading last night, because I was like, oh, my gosh, where did this water come from? Because it was over 6 feet high in some cases. Some cars were submerged.
People had to be rescued, yes.
It was unbelievable. And I'm just like, what is this all about? Apparently, a year ago, very similar situation, not quite as deep. Or it didn't pile up quite as high, but there's clearly, and based on the reporting I was reading last night, D.C. Water has known about a drainage problem there for years. This is a part of Northeast D.C. that was, you use the word gentrified if you'd like, but in recent years, maybe in the last decade, there was a new construction, sort of a shopping center, apartment complex built. If you look at the pictures, you can see there's some new construction there. So they just did some work in this area to sort of beautify it and bring it back up and raise the standards in the neighborhood. And clearly something was done erroneously. Well, because you should be able to drain a little better than this.
Well,
even with that much rain.
Yeah, we have drainage problems in Alexandria, Virginia as well, and a lot of areas of Northern Virginia have drainage problems. And it's partly just because these drainage systems were not built when this many people lived in the area, and it's just a tax. It's basically
and Alexandria butts right up against, and it butts right up against the Potomac. And for instance, I'm thinking in Annapolis, I've seen at City Dock there, the main dock. It butts right up against the bay. There's just so much you can do when you've got tides and you've got water. This is the 600 block of Northeast D.C. It's not like there's a rising tide from the river that's coming at you. And again, based on the reporting I saw yesterday, D.C. Water has known about this, didn't fix it after this happened similarly last year. Sadly, yesterday, as horrible luck would have it and misfortune would have it, the volume of water seems to accumulate and push right up against the storefront of an organization, a company called DC Dogs, which is basically
doggy daycare.
It's a doggy spa, So they've got a bunch of dogs in there, and there's vivid video of the glass storefront from the inside of the store showing the water. It's like you're sitting in an aquarium, Julie.
Yeah.
This water. And, of course, I'll let the fire department take it from there. This is D.C. Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly.
And the rest of the people were self-evacuating through the water on their own. It's a very dangerous situation. Over those few minutes, the water raised 6 feet roughly to the middle of the doors, or above the middle of the doors on District Dogs behind us. And then one of the walls gave in and District Dogs flooded. And as a result of that, we've had some fatalities for the dogs, and the fire department assisted the District Dogs employees in rescuing 20 additional dogs.
So they rescued 20 dogs, but they did have fatalities and pressed on the number.
So instead of giving a number, I'd like to just wait so the District Dogs is contacting the families involved in those dogs. But the emotion it's hard to watch. It's unbearable. This is losing a member of your family or being scared that you did. And
of course it is. And just by giving the number of dogs isn't violating the confidentiality of the family members who are waiting to hear about their dog. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so I've seen multiple reports out there, and I'm not going to share with you a number that I don't have confirmed. But either way, it's a tragedy that it apparently didn't need to happen.
No.
And DC Water Department needs to answer to this at this point. It's like, how many times does this have to happen?
Absolutely. And it really is so sad that, these people, I mean, if you're dropping your dog off at doggy daycare, you really care about your dog, and you have taken steps to give your dog just the, ultimate in care. And for this to happen, I do see the storefront where I'm looking at a picture of it right now, and it does seem to be on sort of at the bottom of a hill.
Mm-hmm. It's where everything slopes in, where everything slopes down. But again, a normal city accounts for this sort of thing, especially when you're on the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah,
you're at the Potomac and Anacostia. There is drainage issues, so you do it right. And then if you know that you've got a drainage problem, you take a year to fix it. It was a year ago during the rainy season when this happened before.
Yeah,
right at this doggy daycare place.
Yeah, this is just an absolute tragedy. Those poor families.
Yeah. And it's just another example of the dysfunction of the city government here. And I understand you can have biblical rain pours, and yes, it was really something else. But again, and I'm going off of the reporting that I've seen, this isn't a new occurrence. They knew about it, and they didn't fix it in the year that they had. D.C., once again, it's a failed experiment right now. This government isn't functioning in any way, at any level. It is 5:44. Well, FBI testimony was released yesterday from the House Oversight Committee, Julie Gunlock. This is the committee who's been looking into the crimes of the Biden family and, most importantly, the cover-up and obstruction of justice of the Biden Justice Department.
Sure.
Now, so far, we've already heard from 2 whistleblowers from the IRS. Now we're hearing from an FBI special agent. Now, just to get you up to speed on where this is, the 2 FBI special agents, investigators, testified under oath in open committee eventually that they had presented evidence of crimes, tax fraud by Hunter Biden. They presented it to FBI agents as well as to the DA or the U.S. attorney, Mr. Weiss from Delaware, and that's when Mr. Weiss said, "Well, I can't pursue these charges. I don't have authorization. I need to put it through, Merrick Garland. I don't." And this, of course, contradicted the testimony of Merrick Garland and Mr. Weiss, saying that he had all the power in the world and there would be no asking permission, right? Despite the political nature here. And the IRS whistleblowers also laid out multiple times where political concerns were put in front of the concerns of actually pursuing justice and following the rule of law, including tipping off the Biden transition team and Biden himself, Biden's lawyers, when they were going to search property and they were going to run a raid. Remember how Trump was tipped off before the Mar-a-Lago raid?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So now we have an FBI special agent confirming those things. This, according to the testimony that was released yesterday, this was testimony that was behind closed doors. One expects, though, that he will be brought forth as well, unless he's concerned that his life will be ruined, because that's what they do. That's what they do. But Jonathan Turley has looked at it. He says that the FBI agent confirmed under oath that the Biden team was tipped off about their effort to interview Hunter. He was upset. Other agents were frustrated by the interference. The agent said that they were not allowed to go to the house, forced to wait a block away. The interview was then blocked by a Hunter Biden lawyer who, again, was given a tip by someone from the Delaware's U.S. Attorney's Office or by the Justice Department. By the way, this reinforces why it's outrageous that David Weiss is the special counsel. Because this all happened on his watch. He was the man leading the investigation, and somehow someone on his team tipped off the Biden family and the Biden transition to these searches and interviews.
Well, don't forget, there was that figure, Alexander Mackler, who worked in Weiss's office and who was texting with Hunter Biden. They found those texts where he was like, "Love you, brother.
That's right.
How you doing?"
That's right.
And I mean, we wonder where those tips came from. Well, when you have like a bro of Hunters working for Weiss, working in the prosecutor's office, this is so dirty, Larry.
Does Merrick Garland know about this? Did he know about it before he appointed David Weiss as a special counsel? Has he done anything about this? Has anybody been punished about this?
I mean, that Alexander Mackler name, you don't hear about it very much. No. But that clear smoking gun.
Yes, keep
where
paying
the leaks
attention.
were coming, where the tips were coming from. Love you, man. Love you.
And
Love you, brother.
And by the way, if David Weiss, the U.S. attorney who is now the special counsel, if he claims, listen, my office is clean, this came from D.C., this came from the Justice Department, this is somebody on Merrick Garland's team, that further reinforces that Merrick Garland has no business appointing a special counsel, because he and his operation should be part of the investigation.
Yep.
So he should recuse himself completely. Frankly, I think he should have recused himself with regard to anything involving Biden or involving Trump, for that matter, because Trump is the man, by winning the election in 2016, who kept Merrick Garland for the Supreme Court. It's obvious he has a personal conflict of interest against everything Donald Trump, and he obviously has a personal conflict of interest with Biden because Biden's the man he works for. That's why you get a special counsel.
Yep.
To avoid all of that conflict. And instead, the guy who has a direct conflict, Merrick Garland, is the guy who appointed David Weiss, and David Weiss, of course, is the guy who we already know has a conflict because he's lied under oath about the powers that he had.
Yep.
So there's your latest update on the Biden crimes. Let's turn over to Morning Joe in a few hours and see how much they're going to be covering that. Oh, no, apparently
the
it's
walls
all
are
Trump
closing in
all the time. The walls are closing in on Trump. He's absolutely disqualified from president. We will not stand for election denial in Georgia.
And these same folks, think about how they acted during Katrina. And Biden is on a beach. He has another vacation coming up.
You're skipping ahead. We're going to get to that in a little bit. That's all right. But we're still on the election denial in Georgia and the crime.
If she'd had a fair election, she already would have won.
Lock her up. It's 5:53. All right, coming up, we will revisit the indictments in Georgia. There's more analysis that we wish to provide, and provide it we shall. Keep it here.